The financial capital and biggest city in the United States, New York City, has its first ever Muslim mayor. 34-year-old Democrat Zohran Mamdani, the youngest winner in more than a century, beating highly experienced and presidential opposition. It's just one of a number of in-state elections being seen as an early test of Donald Trump's second term. Jordan Rudd reports.
It's not often a politician is labelled cool.
Every politician says New York is the greatest city on the globe. But what good is that if no one can afford to live here?
But it's snappy social media hits like these that have boosted Zohran Mamdani from political unknown to global name and New York City's brand new mayor.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
The Ugandan-born former hip-hop artist's campaign laser-focused on the cost of living.
Working people are being pushed out of the city they built.
Pledging free childcare, free buses, a rent rise freeze and city-run supermarkets funded by taxing the rich more.
I voted for him because I believe in an affordable city.
It's progressive yet familiar populism to Donald Trump, who's clearly rattled.
He's a communist. He's down and dirty. He's a communist.
Threatening to withdraw federal funds if America's financial capital elected Mamdani.
But I will not be intimidated by this president.
Yet senior Democrats have been slow to back him. They need young voters, yet worry about his strong criticism of Israel and his brand of democratic socialism. But it's hard to ignore such a big win in the Big Apple.
That will give his progressive supporters the opportunity to say this is what it's going to take to get the Democratic Party to recover from last year's defeat.
It's not America's only telltale local election today. Virginia and New Jersey, just 2, where Democrats beat Republicans.
Whatever Trump is doing is a little bit insane out there, so most of people are just changing sides and voting against that.
Across the US, public unrest is growing. Their governments shut down now officially the longest ever due to a Democrat-Republican infight over healthcare. Issues include funding for food aid relied on by millions running dry.
They asking for trouble because people got children to feed.
Trouble set to land at the president's feet as celebrations start in New York for a man who may have written the blueprint to take Trump down. Jordan Rudd, One News.
Well, this is the sad state of this House, that you've got a significant bill coming through and you've got the government parties who have led this legislation stand up and give 2-minute pathetic speeches. That side of the House is so out of touch with the reality of New Zealand. They get up and they give their stump speeches, give their key lines, and then they sit back down because they don't have anything valuable to contribute to this discussion. That is a disservice to victim. That the summary of your thoughts and ideas on justice is to spit out some lines that some communications advisor wrote for you. Pathetic. This sentencing reform bill is going to result in more people being funneled into our prisons, and it does not make our communities any safer. And I don't know what la-la land you might be living in on that side of the House, but if you'd actually step foot in a prison, there's no rehabilitation going on in there. I've been to 10 prisons in the last year. There's no rehabilitation going on at all in there. What do you think people are doing in there? Making better connections. That's why it's called the Ministry of Connections, not Corrections, because that's not happening in there. Rehabilitation is virtually non-existent. You're sending people in there for a longer time to make more friends, to be better criminals. Well done. You've achieved something today.
Please don't bring the Speaker into the debate.
Okay. We know for a fact that only 7 to 15% of rehabilitation programs in prisons are actually successful. And prisons don't even have the time to consider what kind of a service they're offering to people in those prisons because they are so busy trying to accommodate a growing prison population. And I don't know why the other members are looking at me at disgust. That is the consequence of your actions.
No, it's
the
not.
Government's actions. Yes, they are. Prison capacity is the summary of your justice approach and response. It's not to address the drivers of crime. It's not to address poverty or trauma or mental health issues or drug addiction, which are the reasons that people end up in prison. Your response is to make our prisons larger. You want to make Christchurch prison larger, Auckland prison larger, and continue to build prisons. That is not going to solve anything. And I spoke to a corrections officer and he said, as the muster grows, the quality goes. That's what they're preparing for. And at the moment, they are dealing with double bunked cells. They are at capacity, and this bill will make those prisons even fuller. There are too many people in our prisons. This bill is particularly disgusting, though, because it attacks our young people, the people who are supposed to be our future. You're saying that their age should not be taken into account by judges when they're sentenced. There is a reason that those provisions are in place, and it's because people in their lives, when their brains are developing at a certain age, they make decisions differently. They do not weigh up the consequences. They are more susceptible to being peer pressured into doing things that they don't want to do. But it's easy for that side of the house to sit there and hand wring and talk about personal responsibility because they've had more options in their lives than all of the young people that are in prison. How do I know? Because I talked to them. I went to the youth unit at Mount Eden Prison and asked them why they were in there. And it was because they had no options, because they are disabled, because they are poor, because they come from places not like the ones that this side of the house come from. Have some compassion and some empathy for the people that you talk about and that you lock up. The human potential that this government wastes, absolutely wastes it. This bill oversteps judicial discretion. There's a reason why judges stop sentencing people, because they know that prisons don't work. And then here comes this ideological government who has no care in the world for evidence, who continues to do the same thing over and over again, and it does not work. $800 million over 5 years is going into corrections. Meanwhile, our hospitals are degraded, our schools are collapsing, our public services are in absolute disarray. You spend $151,000 on locking one person up, $80,000 per person in the correction system. You spend $1,000 per person in the health budget. You spend $4,000 per person in the education budget. It's pathetic, and I know it's not where taxpayers want their money going. You guys, this side of the house needs to buck their ideas up when it comes to justice, because all it is failure after failure. It is ruining lives, it is wasting human potential, and it is not the answer. This is not a case of one man's actions. There were multiple senior police officers, including the former police commissioner, who all colluded to cover up genuine complaints of abuse and misconduct. They took a relationship between a senior police official and a woman 20 years his junior, where a clear power imbalance existed and where there was alleged abuse, and they charged her. They charged her. They failed her. And that is the reason why 94% of sexual assaults in this country go unreported to the police. We want all police to wear body cameras. We want better resourcing for the Independent Police Conduct Authority, and we want them to have power to discipline officers at whatever rank they sit in, and we want the IPCA to have the power to actually change police practices, including directing the police commissioner himself. Lastly, we want greater limits and safeguards on police power and discretion, including in regards to arrest, entry, search and seizure.
Homeless people need a place to live, or at the very least sleep. I feel like that's pretty obvious, right? It comes with the term homeless. Now, the thing is that right now, Christopher Luxon is looking at ways to kick homeless people out of the Auckland CBD. He isn't looking to help them directly. He isn't looking to solve poverty or the issues facing them or the issues facing anybody about to become homeless. He isn't looking at homelessness as an issue at all. He is looking at them just being an eyesore and is prioritizing the view of tourists and people living in the CBD, and wants to clean up the streets by physically just moving the dirty people out into the suburbs, I guess. Because if they have nowhere to go, they will simply be homeless somewhere else. And that will be our suburbs. And it is a classic Christopher Luxon thing to do, because instead of solving a problem, he can just move it or hide it or blame it on somebody else, right? But it is wild to me that the Prime Minister of New Zealand, our country, has decided that instead of trying to help the homeless, keeping in mind the number of homeless has risen because of him, he is simply going to move them on, because tourists and people like him don't like looking at them. And if you think that's insane, watch this video of a reporter trying to get Luxon to commit to only kicking out people that have a place to go. And full warning, it is painful to watch.
If you ban homeless people from the CBD, where will they go?
We're not doing that. What we're doing is a very clear message from Auckland is we have also that we need to make the city look better, particularly as we've got cruise season coming upon us, as we've got a new convention centre opening up, to CRL opening up. So the Minister for Auckland, Seymour Brown, is working with a number of agencies and stakeholders in the city to say what can we do and all options on the table.
So, but where will they go?
Again, those are decisions that we'll work through. I mean, if we're going to have things like move on, or whatever I said yesterday, it's really important that we've actually got proper care around those people and they've got somewhere to go.
So can you give a commitment that no person, no rough sleeper, will be moved on if they don't have somewhere to go?
We're a government that's taken homelessness really seriously. Not only have we sorted out 6,000 less people in state house care, not only have we taken 3,000 households out of emergency housing, we want to work with the agencies that are on the ground. We want to work with the NGOs that are on the ground. But of course, we need to make sure that we've got care around the individuals.
Okay, so
they've got somewhere to go.
The question was, can you give a commitment, a promise that no one will be moved on without somewhere to go?
That will be if we pursue that as an option. And again, as I said, all options are on the table, and we need to be able to get the advice from lots of different people who have different perspectives on what the issue and what the problem and challenge actually is. We obviously need to make sure that we've got care for people.
But so sorry, that was just that commitment. That is a promise that you can make.
Yeah, okay. That's what I've just said, Joe. That's the answer. Yep.
That is not a leader. That is a coward. That man had to be forcefully backed into a corner just so that he would commit to helping the people that he is meant to represent. And even then, that commitment was paper thin. I genuinely don't think that Luxon even sees people below a certain pay grade as human. We are an eyesore that can be moved on. This is not what good people do.
Not everyone in the coalition is on board. New Zealand First will vote against it.
Sadly, it's neither a free nor fair trade deal. It's in fact low quality, and it's been rushed.
Did you rush this through?
Absolutely not. This is a situation where you've had, the commitment from the Prime Minister of India, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, our two trade ministers, all of our officials and teams made a very strong commitment together in March to actually work our way through the issues. More time doesn't drive a better deal. This is as good a deal as it gets, and I think we should be very, very proud of this deal.
Mr. Peters has concerns the deal could open the door to large numbers of migrants.
5,000 allowed to come plus bring their families. Now, you're no longer talking 5,000, you're talking 15, 20, 25,000 per year to be chefs, yoga teachers, natural medicine practitioners, this sort of thing.
National disputes the figure. It says the real figure's around 1,600 a year, no families. We put that to New Zealand First and they doubled down, sticking to a figure of around 20,000. Both coalition partners slugging it out toe-to-toe, neither prepared to back down. Peters is also concerned dairy exporters get next to nothing from the deal. The Dairy Companies Association agrees, saying it does very little to address the prohibitive tariffs India has placed on New Zealand's dairy exports. Got less than 1 year towards the election. Are you sort of deliberately trying to differentiate your line from the line of the rest of the government? I mean, are you trying to undermine this deal?
Of course not. I spent my whole career standing up for a country called New Zealand. And this is a deal that does not defend our interests, it favours Indian interests. And that's why, sadly, it's a bad deal.
This is going to be the third biggest economy in the world. This is an economy that New Zealand needs to be in.
All of which leaves the Prime Minister potentially going on bended knee to Labour.
Mr Luxon has to go across the House and see if he can get a majority from them. And if Labour thinks this is a good deal, then they will stagger me.
The devil will be in the details, so Labour says it won't be rushed. But it hasn't ruled out voting either way on the free trade deal. Thought Christmas had come a little early in making this announcement. New Zealand First could be the Grinch that steals it.
So last month, a group of cyber criminals calling themselves Kazoo hijacked sensitive medical data belonging to more than 120,000 New Zealanders and issued a ransom demand. Meaning that the person watching this video is more at risk of identity fraud than they were yesterday because of this muppet. Because today is the deadline for that ransom. because the information that Kazoo has includes medical notes and contact information. Basically, the most important records that a person can hold. I need the person watching this video to listen closely because what I'm about to say is very, very important and it needs to be shared with anybody who may be at risk. Your private health data is the most valuable commodity on the black market because unlike a credit card number which can just be cancelled or replaced, your medical history is permanent. A stolen credit card is worth a few dollars on the black market. A complete medical record is worth thousands. Precisely because it gives criminals long-term leverage over a person's life. It allows them to impersonate you, exploit you, and pressure you in ways that don't expire the way a credit card would. It can be used for identity theft because it contains full names, dates of birth, addresses, and contact details, the building blocks for financial fraud. It can be used for targeted scams where criminals know exactly how to manipulate someone by referencing real medical conditions or appointments. It can be used for blackmail, especially where records involve mental health, sexual health, or substance use. And it can be sold and resold in perpetuity over and over again to different criminal groups all across the world. Now here comes the point in the video where you ask, who do I blame? Well, a good place to start would be this government. When they came into power, announced that they would be cutting back office staff under the pretense of ensuring more money would go into the pockets of clinicians, nurses, and doctors. And by the way, bang up job. Rather than that money going to, and I'm quoting them, useless bureaucrats. Now, if you are Health New Zealand, the cybersecurity experts who could have prevented something like this from happening, they fell into the useless bureaucrat category. Because last year, Health NZ slashed nearly half of its data and digital workforce in a bid to find savings. That was despite warnings from the unions and experts who said that this would make systems more sensitive and more vulnerable to attacks. And in response to those warnings, Health Minister Seymour Brown insisted that the digital cuts would not affect frontline services. It would be less than a year before Seymour would be proven disastrously wrong. Now, I would hope that this whole experience has taught simple Seymour that the work of data engineers, cybersecurity specialists, and digital architects is frontline in 21st century health systems. But do you know what would be nice? It would be nice if that lesson didn't require the private medical data of 120,000 New Zealanders being held hostage by criminals. It would be nice if Seymour Brown had done what the person watching this video probably would have done. Listen to the people in the room who knew more than him. The experts waving red flags saying that this would make us less safe. But no. We got a former bank teller deciding that he knew better than the people whose actual job it is to stop ransomware attacks, and now the medical records of your neighbours, your parents, your kids are sitting in the hands of criminals because Seymour Brown didn't have the humility to listen to people who knew more than him. I need the person watching this video to understand something. Ransomware attack on Manage My Health was a policy decision. It was a choice to cut back office staff across the public service because, make no mistake about it, you can draw a straight line from those choices to this outcome. If you're Seymour Brown, your data security was deemed less important than maintaining an economic model that keeps wealth flowing upwards to people like his boss, to landlords like Christopher Luxon, who has added millions to his net worth, while public services run leaner, weaker, and more exposed. Now, who's paying the price? Ordinary New Zealanders are. Not people like Christopher Luxon, people insulated by wealth, not the people who can afford private systems, private doctors, private protections. Ordinary people. The most personal information now sits in the hands of criminals. We are the collateral damage of this man's ideological austerity.